My name is Nick Laidlaw. I'm a holistic exercise and lifestyle coach from Sydney's Northern Beaches. I've created a video platform because I'd love to reach as many people as possible with these simple messages of health. I've also interviewed a host of individuals from our community. In their lives and in their own way, they've all helped to shape me to be a better person. So I hope that they inspire you in some way too. So we are on our way to go and meet my friend of mine, Mr. Harry Van, and I thought I'd get him to see what his thoughts are and interview him today, just because he's a really interesting guy. I met him a long time ago. He's been a good friend of mine, and he kind of struck me as just a really gentle person when I first met him. He's a really good surfer. He's done a lot of traveling around the world, and more recently he's been getting right into his organic farming and studying permaculture, which is it's not just a method of farming without using herbicides and pesticides and all those chemicals. It's actually a real methodology which takes into consideration the whole cycles of the earth and of the planet. And I think that as a symbol with permaculture, there's a lot to it which models of our human existence. So I think there's a lot of interesting stuff about permaculture in itself, and I just want to have a chat to him really, just to see where he's at the moment and see if what he's got to say for himself as far as, you know, living mindfully, living consciously, traveling the world, seeing how we can all kind of do it in a way that's, you know, giving the world a bit more than what it's actually taking from it. And I think people like that really inspire me to do what I do. So to get the lowdown from him will be really cool. Okay, so who are you and what do you do?
I'm Harry Van. I'm a son, I'm a brother, I'm a boyfriend, I'm a surfer, I'm a snowboarder, I'm a wood turner, an artist, a permaculturist, and I'm just a student and an amateur at everything, but constantly learning. And that's the kind of stuff I like doing, just whatever I feel like I am on that day, I want to do that.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
You say about being a student, since I've known you, which is quite a long time now, it seems you've always really been into learning, for one, whether that's turning wood, making rings, whatever it is, surfing, attaining mastery over a craft. It seems like you've really always been into the what it is that you're trying to do, and really trying to learn that from the inside out, and not necessarily just have someone do it for you. You've always been really keen to question what it is that makes something work, and do that. And I think that's been a really interesting thing to watch and watch you evolve. And then in turn, over the last couple of years in particular, into studying permaculture. That's been a really interesting thing, because what you've explained to me, it seems like it's a way to really create the life that you want and the world that you want, the reality the best version of reality that you want to see in your life. And so yeah, that's been really interesting for me. So can you tell me a bit about permaculture?
Yeah, so permaculture is a pretty amazing thing I found a couple of years ago, and last year I spent a whole year doing a certificate 3, and it's sort of hard to describe. Like, if you ask 100 people what permaculture is, you get like 100 different answers. It's such a generalist topic, but it's for me it's like this roadmap that you can follow to take yourself back to living harmoniously with nature, and how to live that way in a sustainable way, and still, have a lot of food and everything in abundance. And it's based on these like principles and ethics that sort of touch on like such a broad range of topics, from everything from like soil, water, growing food, natural building, to social structures, to economics. And you can really sort of structure your whole life around these principles and ethics, because they've got these really good morals, which always sort of brings you back to questioning, like, is it sustainable for this earth? And yeah.
Cool. Yeah, you mentioned the word abundance. I really like that word, because I think it has a lot of meaning, a lot of depth to it. Do you think that we are, at the moment, as our society is? Do you think that we are seeing that abundance? Do you think society sees that there is an abundance out there and that we've got an unlimited amount of resources, or do you think that we're kind of taking the piss a little bit with overusing the way that we farm and the way that we kind of live our lives as a general kind of consumer society?
Yeah, I think if things are done the right way, there's an absolute abundance of everything we can do, but there's certain elements that we're definitely taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And that's sort of not looking at the repercussions of using those certain things, whether it be fossil fuels or all these chemicals. And so there is an abundance, but we're definitely kind of, like I said, taking the piss out of some things and not really, we're becoming more and more aware of it, whether it be like fossil fuels, but we're still using them every day.
Yeah.
Everyone still hops in a car and drives it every day, and it doesn't really feel bad about that effect, because it's, I guess someone's making profit for it, so it's still being pushed to the consumer.
For sure. What are some things that you've changed about your life since you've maybe started studying permaculture and integrating that into your life? What are some things that you've noticed that you've had to think about and that you've implemented in your life?
There's loads of things. Like, my whole life has really changed the way that I structure it and the way I carry myself.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Like, just simple little things like that might not be a lot, but I ride my bike everywhere.
Yeah.
And even if it's raining, I ride my bike. I don't really drive a car so much anymore. Just little things like if I am shopping, I'll take my own bag, so I'm not using plastic bags.
Yeah. I'll
use reusable products like a coffee mug that I take to a cafe if I'm buying a coffee, because you got to indulge in those sort of things. But
you still got to live.
Yeah, and I just consume consciously. So I look at the packaging or something and whether it's worth buying that, or maybe spend a bit more money on a better product that's produced in a much more sustainable, ethical way.
Yeah.
And where I source my food from, that's another huge thing. Whether I grow it myself or if I'm buying it, I'm definitely picking apart the producer's brain to see how they've done it.
Okay, cool. And what's the difference between, say, going to a farmer's market as far as the cost on the earth? Would you just generally going to a farmer's market and buying it straight from a grower, or going to Woolies and getting your fruit and veggies there?
Yeah, I'd definitely advise absolutely everyone to shop locally and organic foods.
Yeah.
And you can do that sort of to meet your wallet's requirements by going to farmers markets, because they do it a bit cheaper, and you do get it directly from a farmer, and you can talk to them and ask them how they produce their food, and the cost in the world is that they're farming that food organically, which is more sustainable for the earth.
Yeah.
As far as Woolworths and those big supermarket chains, they're most of their fruit and veg is just conventional farming, chemical farming methods to grow that food, and it's degenerating the earth for sure.
Okay. And as far as comparing chemically farmed foods or commercial farm to real food or organic food, what are some of the differences first to the soil and to the earth, and then what are some of the differences to our health and to what it's doing to our systems?
Yeah, so chemically farmed food, it's got those two negatives you said, is that it's harmful for our bodies because the food has far less nutrients in it, and it's also carrying those chemicals that are used in the farming practice.
And that comes into our body as well?
Yes, and our body has to work overdrive to sort of get rid of them. But and then to the earth, it's very degenerative of the earth, because there's these chemicals that are designed to kill an animal or a different type of plant than what they want to be growing. So
as in like a pest?
Yeah, as a pest and a weed.
Yeah, okay.
And that kills almost everything else that it touches as well. So it's killing all these microorganisms in the soil, which break down organic matter to provide nutrients for plants.
Yeah.
So that's the digestive system of the soil that it's killing. It will then run off, and so that's depleting the soil. Okay. It will then run off into other ecosystems, natural ecosystems, where it kills local wildlife and contaminates rivers, which would before be drinkable for us, but it's not anymore.
Yeah.
So it really harms the earth on a number of ways that way.
Yeah. Whereas
organic farming is free of chemical pesticides and fertilizers and GMO and even antibiotics in animal production and hormones.
And so how about sorry, just quickly, how do they feed commercial farming, I understand that they can pretty much feed anything within a very loosely regulated scheme. They can feed animals things that are not really naturally in their diet, and it kind of creates a bit of a sick animal in turn, a fat, profitable animal, but not necessarily the healthiest animal for us.
There's a strong point on like what animals would naturally eat in their natural environment, and they're not feeding them that. They're feeding them corn and soybeans, which is cattle. They're feeding them that, and that's not what they're designed to eat. So there's a huge amount of health problems that the animals have.
And then in turn antibiotics.
And then the hormones and antibiotics to beef them up and to keep them free of disease, but then that's unhealthy food for us.
Totally. And then with the organically free-range cattle, they're under different conditions, obviously. They might use a little bit of land, but is the land used a little bit more efficiently, and are they fed more? Are they grazing on just kind of more natural foods that they would be having in the wild if they were there?
There's different methods for grass-fed animals. Some will just let them be in a pasture where they feed, but other systems is it's called cell grazing, where it's just basically move them around in different cells so they're following their natural pattern as a herd animal. And they eat grasses, shrubs, what they would normally eat in their diets. So they just become a normal, healthy animal in their natural environment.
Cool.
Through those methods,
And there's a bit of a myth, I suppose we're talking more about organically farming foods, and I would love to see it, I know you would too, to see that spread to the wider community and, to the world over. But I think there's a bit of a myth that since it's becoming more popular, organic farming, it's a bit of a push from the commercial side that you can't, feed the world on organic food. Do you think is there anything to that's truth, or is it a bit of...
That we can't feed the world on organic farming? We definitely can.
You think it's possible?
It's absolutely possible, and there's sort of ecological scientists and even farming scientists saying that it's going to have to be something we must do. Because it's becoming harder and harder to commercially farm food, because it's not sustainable. That's the sort of bottom line. So we definitely can, and I think that in the future we must, or now we must. We must do it that way. And there is enough food to feed the world. Maybe we've got to mix up our centralised food system.
As in the variety of foods that we eat?
There's definitely a large variety of food that we don't eat that we can. That's available out there, and that's due to monocropping and commercial farming.
What's monocropping?
So that's just pretty much a field that they'll just grow one crop in, just because it's done to sort of industrialise their agricultural techniques. So the idea is to make it ease of harvest. But
just convenience for the person who is picking all the whatever it is.
And it's not the best way to farm. You're depleting the soil from its nutrients, because there's one crop just sucking the same things out.
And that's not very natural for the wildlife around it. All the soil, is it?
It causes a number of problems, because it causes pest problems, it causes disease problems, and it sort of losing that biodiversity really takes away the resilience. And that's the resilience for our food systems. That's our food,
and which in turn gives us our resilience to fight off, diseases and influenza and things like that. There's a lot of microorganisms in our food that we can get from organic farming.
Absolutely. It's far more. Organic food will have far more nutrients, and it tastes better.
That's true. It tastes way better. Okay, so as far as getting people into action with eating or supporting local people. And getting this organic farming movement more widespread and into more households, what are some things that we can do right now?
Right now, just be conscious of what you're buying and what you're consuming. You can get involved with, if you want to grow your own food, get involved with the community gardens. There's a wealth of knowledge there they can teach you. But really, I would stress the main thing is just to shop organic food, and just be aware of where that food's coming from, because you're putting that into your body, and that's what you care about, probably the most thing in the world. But then you also want to care about the planet and the earth that we live on. So shopping organic produce, it's a much more sustainable way to live, and for our planet, because of the practices that they use to grow that food.
For sure. And then so eating organic is going to be one thing. Consuming consciously without being on the pedestal and, you know, just talking to people at the checkout in Woolies. Like, what can some of us do that just, you know, be a bit more mindful? You say you've been riding your bike. That's inspired me to walk to work more because I don't need to drive every day.
Yeah.
So little things like that is really inspiring to see.
And I think it can stretch from what we touched on before to small things like bringing your own coffee cup to a coffee shop, to going a bit further. And when, say, you're building your home for the first time, you want to design that in a way that we're going to catch water from the roof. Let's get solar power instead of fossil fuel power.
Yeah.
And there are things we can also do. And consuming consciously with packaging and everything you get. Do I really need it? You know?
Yeah, totally.
We're such a consumer-driven society. You just ask yourself, do I need this? Like, probably not.
Most of the time we don't. Yeah, I think it's been great since, you know, you always come into my life or into the community of Avalon and out because you've done a lot of travelling and that kind of thing. But when you do come home, it always gives me a good push. So and just a good wake up, you know, that you can be happy and you can have the abundance without, you know, just having too much. There's enough within ourselves to kind of live and thrive. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So for that, I thank you, and that inspires me to be, you know, a light as well to help other people do that. So that's rad.
Cool.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Thanks. You're always inspiring me too. Every time I come here.
Well, that's good.